Imagine a person who never loses their composure. They get fired from their job. They remain calm. Their loved ones betray their trust. They don't break down screaming. The entire world crumbles around them. Yet they continue to think clearly and act reasonably. Sounds like a superpower? In reality, this is an ancient philosophy that has helped thousands of people find inner peace. Today, you'll discover the secrets of Stoicism, a teaching that will turn you into the master of your emotions. Ready to become invincible? Then watch until the end. What is Stoicism? Many people think that Stoics are emotionless robots who suppress all feelings. But this is a huge misconception. Stoicism is a practical philosophy of life that teaches us to distinguish between what we can control and what lies beyond our power. This teaching was founded in ancient Greece around 300 BCE by the philosopher Zeno of Citium. The name Stoicism comes from the Greek word stoa, a covered gallery where the first followers of this teaching gathered. They met in Athens in a painted gallery on the city square and discussed questions of life and death, good and evil, happiness and suffering. This teaching was later developed in Rome by such great thinkers as Seneca, Epictetus, and Emperor Marcus Aurelius. Each of them made a unique contribution to the philosophy, showing how to apply Stoic principles in different life circumstances. Imagine an emperor of the most powerful empire in the world who writes thoughts about how to become better every day. Marcus Aurelius didn't just rule Rome, he conquered himself. His diary, known as Meditations, still inspires millions of people today. This man governed territory from Britain to Mesopotamia, commanded legions, decided the fates of nations. But every night he sat down to write notes to himself, not for posterity, not for history, simply to become better tomorrow than he was today. Seneca was one of the wealthiest people of his time, an advisor to Emperor Nero. It would seem he had everything: power, wealth, influence. But it was he who wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." And Epictetus was born a slave. His name literally means acquired. He was another person's property, couldn't freely dispose of even his own body. And yet, this man became one of the greatest teachers of freedom in human history. Do you see the irony? A slave taught freedom, a rich man taught contentment with little, an emperor taught humility. This is the power of Stoicism. It works in any circumstances. The first principle of Stoicism sounds deceptively simple. Focus only on what depends on you. But applying it in practice is a real challenge. What is under our control? Our thoughts, our decisions, our actions, our attitude toward what happens. Everything else, other people's opinions, natural disasters, economic crises, diseases, is beyond our influence. Epictetus, who was born a slave and became one of the greatest philosophers, said, "People are disturbed not by events, but by how they perceive them." This man knew what real hardships were, but was able to rise above circumstances. His master once began twisting his leg out of boredom. Epictetus calmly warned, "You'll break it." The master continued. The leg broke. Epictetus simply stated, "I told you that you'd break it." No anger, no reproaches, just a statement of fact. This story may seem incredible, but it illustrates the main principle of Stoicism. We cannot control other people's actions, but we can always control our reaction to these actions. But let's move from ancient examples to modern ones. James Stockdale, an American military pilot, was captured in Vietnam and spent 7.5 years in prison. He was constantly tortured, kept in solitary confinement, denied medical care. What helped him survive? Epictetus's philosophy. Stockdale had studied Stoicism in university, and it was this knowledge that saved his life and sanity in inhuman conditions. Later he said, I never lost faith that I would get out of there. But I also never deceived myself about the harshness of reality. This is the perfect balance of Stoic thinking. Optimism without illusions. Stockdale distinguished two types of prisoners. Those who said we'll be free by Christmas, then by Easter, then by next Christmas, and died of disappointment. And those who accepted reality but didn't lose hope, they survived. A psychological phenomenon was even named after Stockdale, the Stockdale paradox, the ability to simultaneously accept harsh reality and maintain unwavering faith in ultimate success. Now let's take a simple everyday example. You're late for an important meeting and get stuck in traffic. What can you control? Not the movement of cars, not the broken traffic light, not the rain, but you can control your reaction. An ordinary person will start to get nervous, curse, honk, worry. Their pulse will rise, adrenaline will spike. Their mood will be ruined for the whole day. But will this change the situation? Number. A Stoic uses this time productively. They can think about the upcoming meeting, listen to an audiobook, or simply practice mindfulness. They accept the situation as a given and work with what they have. Moreover, a Stoic sees an opportunity for growth in this situation. The traffic jam becomes a trainer for patience. An unexpected delay becomes a chance to test their philosophical preparation. Every unpleasantness is a lesson. The second key principle of Stoicism is understanding the temporariness of everything that happens. Nothing lasts forever, neither joys nor sorrows, neither successes nor failures. When difficulty strikes you, remember, this too shall pass. When you're at the peak of success, remember, you need to be ready for changes. This wisdom helps maintain balance in any circumstances. Seneca, one of the richest people in Rome, regularly practiced voluntary poverty, living like a simple person for several days, eating simple food, wearing simple clothes. Why? To remember that material goods are temporary and true happiness doesn't depend on them. Imagine a person who could afford any delicacies consciously ate bread and water, who lived in a luxurious villa but periodically slept on the floor. This isn't masochism, it's character training. Seneca understood, if you get used to luxury, you become its slave. The fear of losing comfort begins to control your decisions. You compromise your conscience just to maintain your usual standard of living. But if you regularly remind yourself that you can be happy without all this, you gain real freedom. The freedom to make decisions not out of fear of loss, but from inner convictions. The third principle is accepting that troubles are inevitable. Stoics don't strive to avoid all problems. They prepare for them in advance. The modern world sells us the illusion of a problem-free life. Advertising promises solutions to all difficulties. Social media shows only successes. And society instills that suffering is a mistake that needs to be corrected. Stoics thought differently. They considered difficulties an inevitable part of human experience. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "In the morning tell yourself, today I will meet an intrusive, ungrateful, insolent, treacherous, envious, antisocial person." There's a powerful exercise called premeditation of evils, or premeditatio malorum. This isn't pessimism, but realism. You mentally imagine possible troubles and prepare for them emotionally. What if you get fired tomorrow? What if a loved one gets sick? What if your plans don't work out? What if you lose all your savings? What if something happens that you fear most? By living through these scenarios in imagination, you become more resistant to real blows of fate. You think through a plan of action in advance, prepare your psyche for possible trials. This is like a vaccination. You introduce a weakened virus into the organism so it develops immunity to the real disease. Similarly, you vaccinate yourself against life's blows by mentally experiencing them in a safe environment. Research shows that people who regularly practice such negative visualization cope better with stress, less often fall into depression, and are more resistant to life crises. But Stoicism isn't just preparation for the bad. It's also deep gratitude for what you have now. Every new day is a gift that can be taken away at any moment. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself every morning that the people he would meet were mortal. Not to become sad, but to value every moment of communication with them. Imagine how your attitude toward loved ones would change if you remember this. That annoying habit of your spouse would seem like a trifle. That colleague's nagging would stop driving you crazy. Even children's whims would be perceived as precious moments that will soon be gone forever. Stoics practiced meditation on death, memento mori. This reminder of life's finitude isn't meant to frighten, but to motivate. When you remember that time is limited, you stop wasting it on trifles. The fourth principle is understanding your role in life. Each of us plays many roles: son or daughter, parent, friend, colleague, citizen. A Stoic strives to play each role in the best way possible. Epictetus compared life to a theatrical play. The author of the play, fate, God, universe, call it what you want, assigns you a role. You don't choose whether to be a king or a beggar, handsome or ugly, genius or simpleton. But you can choose how to play the role you've been given. If you got the role of a beggar, be the best beggar. If the role of a king, be a wise and just king. If you're a parent, be the best parent you can be. If you're a leader, guide your team with wisdom and justice. If you're a friend, be reliable and honest. Modern psychologists call this role ethics. Instead of abstract moral principles, you focus on specific obligations that your role imposes on you at a given moment. But remember, you can only control your efforts, not the results. You can give a child the best upbringing, but you can't guarantee they'll grow up perfect. You can honestly do your work, but you can't control management decisions. This frees you from the enormous burden of responsibility for what's not in your power. Parents, stop blaming themselves for every mistake of adult children. Leaders don't take blame for failures if they did everything possible. At the same time, this places greater responsibility for what really depends on you. You can't make excuses with external circumstances if you didn't make maximum effort. The Stoic motto sounds like this: do what you must and let happen what will. Not let happen what will in the sense of indifference, but in the sense of accepting that the result doesn't completely depend on us. The fifth principle is developing virtues. Stoics distinguish four main virtues: wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. They considered these qualities the only true wealth of a person. Wisdom isn't just knowledge, but the ability to correctly assess situations and make reasonable decisions. It's the skill to distinguish important from secondary, eternal from temporary, possible from impossible. Justice is honesty toward others and yourself. It's the readiness to give everyone their due without expecting anything in return. It's the ability to act rightly even when no one sees. Courage isn't the absence of fear, but the ability to act rightly despite fear. Physical courage is rarely needed, but moral courage is required every day. Temperance is self-discipline and control over your desires. It's the ability to say no to temptations that might harm in the long term. Interestingly, modern positive psychology has come to similar conclusions. Research shows that people with developed virtues live longer, happier, and more successful lives. Modern research confirms the effectiveness of Stoic principles. Cognitive behavioral therapy, one of the most successful methods for treating depression and anxiety, is based on ideas of Stoicism. The founder of this direction, Aaron Beck, directly referenced Epictetus's teachings. Albert Ellis, creator of rational emotive behavioral therapy, even called himself a passionate philosopher, meaning Stoicism. It turns out that what ancient philosophers understood intuitively, modern science can explain and prove. Neurobiologists have discovered that regular practice of Stoic exercises physically changes brain structure. The activity of the prefrontal cortex, responsible for rational thinking, increases, and the activity of the amygdala, the center of fear and anxiety, decreases. Research at Stanford showed that students who studied Stoicism for a semester demonstrated significant reduction in stress levels and increased life satisfaction compared to the control group. The military uses Stoic techniques to prepare soldiers for extreme conditions. Athletes apply these methods to work with competitive pressure. Doctors study Stoicism to cope with emotional burnout. Steve Jobs studied Stoicism and applied its principles in creating Apple. Warren Buffett uses Stoic principles in investing. His famous phrase, "Be greedy when others are fearful, and be fearful when others are greedy," is pure Stoicism. Tim Cook, current CEO of Apple, openly speaks about the influence of Stoic philosophy on his management style. Bill Belichick, one of the most successful coaches in NFL history, built his philosophy on Stoic principles. Many successful entrepreneurs and athletes use this philosophy to achieve outstanding results. But it's important to understand, Stoicism isn't a path to external success, it's a path to inner peace. But how do you start practicing Stoicism in everyday life? Let's break down specific exercises you can apply today. The first exercise is morning reflection. Upon waking, ask yourself several questions. What depends on me today and what doesn't? Make a mental list and focus only on the first category. What difficulties might I encounter today? Mentally prepare for possible problems, not to wind yourself up, but to be ready to react calmly. What can I be grateful for right now? Find 3 things, big or small. The ability to breathe, a roof over your head, people who love you. The second exercise is the daily pause. During the day when something upsets you, pause and ask, can I change this? If yes, act. If no, accept and let go. This simple technique can change your entire life. Most of our suffering comes precisely from trying to control the uncontrollable. Your spouse is late. Can you change this? Number. So use this time for yourself. Your boss unfairly criticizes. Can you change their opinion right now? Probably not. So stay calm and plan a constructive conversation for later. The third exercise is evening analysis. Before sleep, analyze the past day. Where did you give in to emotions? Where did you act wisely? What can be improved tomorrow? Marcus Aurelius conducted such an inventory of the soul every evening. He didn't engage in self-flagellation, but simply honestly assessed his actions and planned improvements. The fourth exercise is practicing gratitude. Every day, find 3 things you're grateful for. This can be something big or very small. The main thing is that it's sincere. A morning cup of coffee, a stranger's smile, loved one's health, the opportunity to learn something new. The more you practice gratitude, the more reasons for it you find. The fifth exercise is negative visualization. Once a week, imagine losses, not to become a pessimist, but to value more what you have. What if tomorrow you lose your job? How would this change your attitude toward today's work moments? What if a loved one gets sick? How would this affect your desire to spend time with them? The sixth exercise is studying examples. Read biographies of people who showed Stoic wisdom in difficult circumstances. Not necessarily ancient philosophers, there are many modern examples. Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison and came out without hatred. Viktor Frankl, who survived a concentration camp and created a new direction in psychology. Stephen Hawking, who continued working despite a severe illness. Study the lives of great Stoics. Read Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, Seneca's Moral Letters, Epictetus's discourses. These texts were written 2,000 years ago, but they're surprisingly relevant today. Don't be intimidated by the ancient language. Excellent modern translations exist. Start with short passages, a few minutes a day. These thoughts are like vitamins for the soul. They work cumulatively. But most importantly, remember that Stoicism isn't suppression of emotions. It's their proper understanding and management. This is one of the most common misconceptions about Stoicism. Stoic apathy doesn't mean indifference. This word comes from the Greek pathos, suffering. Apathy means absence of suffering, not absence of feelings. A Stoic doesn't become an indifferent robot. They continue to love, rejoice, grieve, get angry. But they don't allow emotions to control their actions. They feel but don't suffer needlessly. When a Stoic is betrayed, they experience pain but don't spend years on hatred and thirst for revenge. They process the emotion, extract a lesson, and move forward. When they're praised, they rejoice but don't become dependent on others' approval. They value recognition but don't build their self-esteem on it. When they fail, they're saddened but don't fall into despair. They analyze mistakes, correct their plan, and continue acting. A Stoic understands the difference between pain and suffering. Pain is inevitable. It's a natural reaction to losses and failures. Suffering is voluntary. It's our interpretation of pain, our thoughts that it shouldn't be this way. Imagine two people who lost their jobs. The first says, "This is a catastrophe. My life is over. Nobody needs me." They suffer not only from the fact of dismissal, but also from their thoughts about this fact. The second thinks, "This is unpleasant, but not the end of the world. I have experience, skills, connections. This is an opportunity to find something better, or even change careers." They're also upset, but don't add imaginary catastrophes to the real problem. Who will find a new job faster? Who will sleep better at night? Who will maintain better relationships with family during this difficult period? This is Stoic wisdom, accepting reality as it is, without adding your own dramas and interpretations. Another important principle of Stoicism is focusing on process, not result. In the modern world, we're often obsessed with goals. Earn 1 million, lose 20 kilograms, find the perfect partner. Stoics thought differently. They focused on what they did every day, not on what they wanted to get in the end. Seneca wrote, "Every day is a step toward the goal or a step away from it." Instead of, "I want to lose weight," a Stoic thinks, "Today I will eat healthy food and exercise." Instead of, "I want to become rich," "Today I will work quality and spend money wisely." This approach relieves anxiety about the future and gives control over the present. You can't guarantee a result, but you can control your daily actions. Stoicism also teaches us to relate correctly to other people's opinions. We often destroy our peace by worrying about what others think of us. Epictetus said, "If someone speaks badly of you, don't justify yourself. Say, 'He doesn't know my other shortcomings. Otherwise, he wouldn't have limited himself to these.'" This humorous wisdom contains deep truth. Other people's opinion of us isn't a fact about us, but a fact about them. It says more about their values, experience, and mood than about our real personality. Of course, this doesn't mean you should ignore all criticism. A wise person knows how to separate constructive feedback from simple negativity, but they don't allow others' opinions to control their inner state. Stoicism is especially relevant in the era of social media, where we're constantly subjected to evaluation and comparison. The number of likes, comments, followers becomes a measure of self-esteem. A Stoic understands virtual popularity doesn't equal real value. They can use social media as a tool, but don't allow it to determine their self-worth. Let's talk about how Stoicism helps in relationships. Many conflicts arise from attempts to change other people. We get angry that our partner doesn't meet our expectations, that children don't obey, that colleagues don't share our views. A Stoic understands the only person who can be changed is themselves. They influence others by their example, but don't try to remake them. This doesn't mean you should tolerate unacceptable behavior, but it means focusing on your reaction, not on attempts to control others' actions. If a partner is constantly late, a Stoic won't make a scene every time. They'll calmly set their boundaries and consequences. If behavior doesn't change, they'll make a decision about future relationships, also calmly and thoughtfully. This approach paradoxically makes relationships more harmonious. When you stop constantly criticizing and trying to remake another person, they have space for their own changes. Finally, Stoicism helps find meaning in suffering. Not all difficulties can be avoided or quickly solved. Diseases, losses, injustice, these are inevitable parts of human experience. A Stoic doesn't pretend it doesn't hurt, but they look for ways to extract benefit even from the most difficult situations. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The obstacle in the path becomes the path itself." Illness can teach to value health and sympathize with other sick people. Job loss can open new opportunities. Betrayal can show who your real friends are. Failure can reveal weak points and motivate growth. This doesn't mean you should be grateful for suffering, but it means the ability to find meaning and lesson in any situation. Viktor Frankl, who survived a concentration camp, wrote, "When we cannot change a situation, we are called to change ourselves." This wisdom was born from the Stoic tradition. Modern research confirms people who find meaning in their suffering recover faster and less often suffer from post-traumatic stress. The Stoic path isn't a path to a painless life. It's a path to a meaningful life. A life in which you remain yourself even when the whole world crumbles around you. This is the path to real freedom. Freedom from anxiety about the future, from regrets about the past, from dependence on external circumstances. This is the freedom to choose your reaction in any conditions. Stoicism doesn't make life simpler, but makes you stronger. Doesn't guarantee success, but gives inner stability. Doesn't eliminate problems, but changes your attitude toward them. Start today. Choose one small irritation in your life and apply the Stoic approach to it. Ask yourself, can I change this? If not, let go. If yes, act calmly and reasonably. When someone is next rude to you in line, remember Marcus Aurelius. When plans fall through at the last moment, remember Epictetus. When you have to make a difficult choice, remember Seneca. Remember Seneca's words, "Every new day is an opportunity to become better." Don't miss this opportunity. The philosophy that helped emperors and slaves, rich and poor, can help you too find inner peace and strength. You're stronger than you think. You have more control than it seems. And now you have ancient wisdom to prove this to yourself and the world. The philosophy of Stoicism isn't theory, but a practical tool for life. It has helped emperors and slaves, rich and poor, ancient and modern people find inner peace and strength. Start applying these principles today, and you'll be amazed how quickly your life changes. If this video helped you, hit like and subscribe to the channel. There are many more practical self-development tips ahead. Write in the comments which Stoic principles seem most useful to you. Share your experience. Your story might inspire others. Remember, you're stronger than you think, and now you have the tools to prove it.